So today I'm going to show you guys 5 easy tricks that you guys can learn on a half pipe. My bad, guys. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another scooter video. We got some beautiful blue skies up here today, and I just rolled up to the park. Got off work a little bit early just to make sure I get the session today, and it's freaking snow everywhere. I didn't know I was gonna be rocking the snow scoot today. All right, first challenge of the day. Let's find a spot that we can actually ride. Got a little bit of spot here, but I'm thinking the half pipe over there might be dry. Oh man, that's just great. All right, in my defense, we've had like the last week of like 50 degrees, so I thought for sure every skate park was gonna be completely dry. That is just not the case at all. I'm walking through like an inch of water and ice right now. Hey, let's go. At least this half pipe is almost completely dry. So the original plan today was to get a ride Joyce skate park, because I've been here in like, I don't know, like 4 years now. I think the last time I've been here was with Caden Johnson. We did a little 5-footer right here. If I can actually find that clip, I'll insert right here. It was the gnarliest thing I've ever seen. Smallest quarter pipe I've ever seen a 5-footer on, for sure. Anyways, my goal today was to come up here, get a gnarly session. So we're gonna transition to the video from being just a banger, showing you guys a tour of the video, or showing you guys a tour of the park, to actually showing you guys 5 easy tricks that you guys can learn on a half pipe. Now, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I love a good half pipe. I have a little backyard half pipe. It's only like 3 foot tall with a 5.5 foot extension, so it's just my sweet spot. So if there's anything that's gonna be dry at a park, definitely would prefer the half pipe. Now, one of the coolest things about a half pipe is it's just a quarter pipe and a quarter pipe linked together, and you can kind of start linking tricks back to back to back. But this half pipe is super tiny, so we're gonna be really limited. I'm gonna have to like really get pretty creative on the tricks that I come up with. And the extension is just wet, just rolled right through that. Highly unfortunate. But without any more hesitation, let's go ahead and get into the 5 tricks that you guys can learn right now on a half pipe. All right, trick number 1 is gonna be the crane. This is one of my go-to favorite like little jibs that just is just so much fun to do, because it just gets heads turning every single time, and also no one knows what it is. It's like I'm almost convinced that I've made the trick up. I'm sure I didn't. I'm sure there's been a lot of other people that do it, but you put your foot down like you're in a can plant, and then you throw your bars between your legs, you grab it, and then you just throw it back in front of you and you keep riding. All in one. It's just really fast, and you can get really creative with it. You can go like reverse with it and then keep turning. The nicest thing about this trick is that it's not hard at all. It literally only just takes balance. So if you guys got some balance, you guys can just stand here practicing the motion over and over again, do a little hopscotch with it, kind of make it some fun games, and then you can just take it to a quarter pipe. And the first thing I'd probably recommend knowing, at least, is just how to can plant. So if you guys know how to can plant on top of a quarter pipe, you could literally do this trick no problem at all. If you guys need any help learning how to can plant or crane, I have both the tutorials for those tricks. I'll have them linked in the upper right hand corner or in the description if you guys want to click down there. Let's move on to trick number 2. The next trick on today's list is going to be foot jams. Foot jams are a really cool one because it gets heads turning just like that first trick. You'll get a lot of credit from bike riders because they know how hard a foot jam can be on a bike, and then you're trying it over here on a little 110 millimeter scooter wheel, whereas they got like a big old 20-inch bike wheel. Big difference, a lot harder, and a lot more, I guess, appreciation, you could say. The next trick on my list is actually going to be a combination of 2 tricks because it's essentially the same trick, but we're just adding on to it. It's going to be the foot jam and the foot jam whip. This is such a fun trick to do, especially on little mini quarter pipes and half pipes just like this one. You really don't have to have a lot of speed for this. If you can basically just air out of the ramp, maybe like a couple inches, you'll be perfectly solid. Actually, the less speed this trick has, the easier it is to do. So what I would recommend before you even attempt it on a quarter pipe, just work on it on the flat ground first. Get comfortable with just riding on top of your scooter, and maybe put your foot on the side over here just like that. And then all you're gonna do from there is just literally turn your wheel a little bit, and your wheel's already touching your foot. And that's essentially all you're gonna do, is just put more pressure on it, and then you're literally doing a foot jam right there. So we're just gonna roll, put our foot next to the head tube right here, turn the wheel, and lean into it. And then when it comes to a quarter pipe, it's basically the same idea. The only difference is that when you get up to the top, you're just on top of the quarter pipe, and then you're kind of like hopping off it. So what I would recommend, practice on the flat ground, do it a couple times, and then practice hopping off of it. That's gonna be key. And then same thing for whiplashes, is essentially the identical trick, but all you're doing is adding a whip into it. Just make sure that your foot is getting hit into the wheel. So what I like to do personally, have my foot as close to the head tube as I can up here. So as soon as I start whipping the deck, my foot is literally just sliding forward. So again, just sliding right into that wheel, just like that. Let's go ahead and do a couple different on this quarter pipe though. Start things off with a nice foot jam. Get another foot jam. You can even add some tricks out of it and do like a foot jam to whip. Or if you got some quick hands, you do foot jam to bar spin. And then like I was saying earlier, a foot jam whip. Next trick on today's list is gonna be an over 50-50 stall. The reason that this trick makes the list is because it's one step higher than being just a standard 50-50 stall. If you guys have been following these videos for a while, you guys already know I got a tutorial on how to 50-50, and it's basically the same trick, but the only difference is you're hopping over the coping and you're locking the deck into the actual coping on top. So it's almost like you're doing a precision ride, but instead you're just letting that deck just kind of hit the top up there, and you're good to go. You start off nice and slow, hop into a 50-50, just make sure you're comfortable with the quarter pipe. That's a good thing to always do before you do any new trick. Make sure you're comfortable with the quarter pipe, doing some tricks that you already know how to do. Now that we've got the 50-50s locked in, let's try to do a precision ride. And we're now one step closer. All we're gonna do now is just get a little bit higher up on this precision ride and then lean it really far in to lock in. Let's try it now. Hop up, lock it in. This is gonna be another balance trick. So if you guys are comfortable on your scooter and you're okay with like leaning around on it, this will be not too hard at all. I like to aim for, like, kind of know where this crack is right next to the coping. Not all quarter pipes are gonna have this. A lot of times the concrete's gonna come straight up to the coping. But for this specific setup, we've got a crack that my wheels are gonna try to aim for every single time, and I'm gonna really lean it in. So my scooter's gonna be leaning in like this far, just to give you a representation. Pretty steep angle, so my butt's gonna be kicked out really far over here, and that's gonna allow me to counterbalance my scooter. So my head's gonna be inside the quarter pipe so I can get back in, and my butt's gonna be outside the quarter pipe to make sure I'm staying balanced. And then from there, once you guys are comfortable locking into it, you guys can start doing some grinds with it. Yo. And then once you start getting really comfortable with them, you start trying to do some whips and stuff into them and out of them. Whips into them are incredibly hard. The next trick on today's list is gonna get pretty precise because we're talking about precision rides. Now, out of all the tricks on today's list, this one definitely takes the cake on having to have the most balance because we're working with such a small area and we've got to make sure we're keeping our wheels perfectly aligned on it. Now, if you're not comfortable doing this on a quarter pipe like this one, you guys can find a crack like this and just kind of try to follow it and see if you can stay on it. If you can stay on it, then you probably have a better chance of staying on a perfectly straight coping, but that's just a nice little tip you guys can do until you get the confidence to try it on a quarter pipe. Now, how to approach this trick. Let's start by just getting comfortable with doing 50-50 stalls. It's basically the same trick, we're just a couple inches over. Now, a quick tip I want to give is making sure that you get your front wheel on first. It's going to be so much easier to line up your back wheel if your front wheel finds the coping first. If your back wheel finds the coping first and then you're slamming that front wheel down, I can guarantee you're gonna miss almost every single time. So always aim for the front wheel first and then try to slap that back wheel on. Another quick tip, it actually sometimes helps if you're moving backwards with it, almost like an alley-oop. That way you're not forcing yourself to keep rolling. Sometimes it gets really scary if you're like facing the quarter pipe and like you can see your fate going into or face going into the side of the ramp. So just kind of going up the ramp and like slightly backtracking ever so slightly will allow you to stay perfectly still on the actual quarter pipe. Just like that. See how I didn't roll around at all? Makes it a lot easier to lock in. Now from there, once you got the confidence of actually locking into the precision ride, we can start trying to roll forward with it. So we're gonna approach it with a little bit of speed and start to curve that angle. Again, we wanna make sure that we lock our front wheel in first. Like that. All right, the last and final trick on today's list is going to be manuals, and specifically manuals on top of the quarter pipe. Manuals are great because this allows you to link so many tricks together and it gives your legs a breather. If you're having a really heavy line, you can kind of use that manual as like a little break point, and it also gets you into the next transition. So if this is something that you guys can transition into the next quarter pipe or next trick, it's a great one to use. And you can really start to have some fun with it and link it with other things like that right there. Quick tip for those of you guys who are having trouble actually getting out of the ramp and locking into the manual, sometimes that can be the hardest part. Practice just on the flat ground, just literally hopping and finding that balance point in the manual. Now when it comes to actually doing on the quarter pipe, it's gonna be so much easier because you can actually hop out of the ramp, same idea. I also want to mention it helps if you guys have a little bit of speed carrying back into the quarter pipe. If you don't have a lot of speed, it's a little bit harder to get that nose all the way back in there and commit to actually dropping back in. So when you get enough speed to get arcing back into the quarter pipe, nose dive into it, that way you make sure you're like properly dropping back in. But that right there is gonna do it for my top 5 tricks that you guys can learn on a half pipe right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it wasn't exactly how I planned today's video to go, hence all the snow, but I still had some fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So if you guys liked, give me a big old thumbs up and smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.